enough. I felt more light-hearted and untroubled than I had in a long time. However, my euphoria was cut short. The afternoon was already getting on, but my father wasn't making any move to leave the spa. When we finally returned to his holiday house, he again didn't seem to be in any great hurry. Just the opposite. He even wanted to lie down for a short while. I glanced nervously at the clock. We had promised my mother that we would be home by 7 o'clock, because the next day was a school day. I knew that there would be a heated discussion if we didn't get back to Vienna on time. While he lay snoring on the couch, the clock kept ticking away inexorably. It was already dark when my father finally woke up and we began the trip home. I sat in the back seat, pouting and saying nothing. We wouldn't make it on time, my mother would be angry, and everything that had been so pleasant this afternoon would be ruined in one fell swoop. As always, I would be caught in the middle. Adults always ruined everything. When my father stopped at a petrol station and bought me a chocolate bar, I crammed the whole thing into my mouth at once. It wasn't until 8:30, 1.5 hours late, that we arrived at the Rennbahnsiedlung council estate. "I'll let you out here. Run home quickly," said my father, and gave me a kiss. "I love you," I muttered as always when saying goodbye. Then I ran through the dark courtyard to our stairway and unlocked the door. In the foyer there was a note from my mother next to the telephone. "I've gone to the cinema. Be back later." I put my bag down and hesitated a moment. Then I scribbled a short note to my mother that I would wait for her at our neighbor's flat, 1 floor below ours. When she came to pick me up there a while later, she was beside herself. "Where is your father?" she barked at me. "He didn't come with me. He dropped me off out the front," I said quietly. It wasn't my fault we were late, and it wasn't my fault that he hadn't walked me to our front door. But still I felt guilty. "Jesus Christ! You are hours late. Here I've been, worrying. How could he let you cross the courtyard by yourself, in the middle of the night? Something could have happened to you. I'll tell you one thing. You are not to see your father anymore. I'm so sick and tired of this, and I won't put up with it any longer." When I was born on the 17th of February 1998, my mother was 38 years old and already had 2 grown-up daughters. She had had my first half-sister when she was just 18 years old, and the second came about a year later. That was at the end of the 1960s. The 2 small children were more than my mother, who was on her own, could handle. She and the girl's father had divorced soon after the birth of my second half-sister. It was not easy for her to make a living for her small family. She had to struggle, took a pragmatic approach to things, was somewhat tough on herself, and did everything in order to get her children through. There was no place in her life for sentimentality or a lack of assertiveness, for leisure or lightness. At 38, now that both girls were grown up, she was free from the obligations and worries of raising children for the first time in a long while. It was exactly at that time that I came along. My mother had not counted on getting pregnant again. The family that I was born into was actually in the process of dissolving itself once again. I turned everything on its head. All of the baby stuff had to be brought out of storage, and daily life had to adjust one more time to the needs of an infant. Even though I was welcomed with joy and spoiled like a little princess by everybody, as a child I sometimes felt like the third wheel. I had to fight to establish myself in a world where all the roles had